Stay tuned and let's check out this Marvel Legends Retro Iron Man. Pow, and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And remember, you can now hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today we are taking a look at this Marvel Legends retro carded Iron Man and his massive plasma cannon. Now, thankfully, both of these are contained within this shipper box, but I'm not going to lie, when I first seen the leaked images of this shipper box, I was worried this was the new format for retro card, but I am very happy that they managed to get Iron Man to accompany the War Machine we already have on the plastic packaging before that sort of disappears and goes on ice for the near future. But the shipper box still has some effort, as we have a picture of Iron Man, a few of the accessories, including that massive cannon he comes with, and the Iron Man logo from that 90s cartoon, which this figure is meant to be a representation of, and we're going to get into all of that, but it is of course an homage to that 90s Toy Biz line as well. But here we have the shipper box, looks nice on the front, spin it around on the back, we're getting a silhouette of all the figures and the pieces inside, and we get a little write-up, which is the same one that's on the card, so I'm not going to waste any more time on the shipper box. Let's get it open. Thankfully, contained within the shipper box, we have the actual Iron Man retro card in all its glory. The figure itself with the bright yellows and reds undoubtedly pops, but the card back itself is such a nice nostalgic recreation of that Toy Biz line from the 90s brought to the modern era, and he's going to be a great accompanying piece to the only other Iron Man retro card we already have in the Legends line, which is of course War Machine. I'll bring him in for a side-by-side, and as you can see, they look great together, but it does make me sad that these two are probably going to be the only releases on this Iron Man retro card, at least for the near future anyway, until Hasbro work all that out. But they look beautiful. I do hope for more, as I'm going to definitely buy an extra to display on the wall. Super nostalgic for me. But let's bring back Iron Man and take a look, because it weren't just this in the box. The actual cannon was packed separately, which I think is a great decision, as it doesn't mean you have to have an oversized massive card. Now, I'm sure they could have done it, but this one will fit nicely with the War Machine, as we've seen. So I don't mind this being a separate piece. So we will look at this, of course, but let me move that to the side, and let me just spin this round to the back real quick. As you can see, you get the same style backing as we got on the shipper box with the stencil, which again is a throwback to the Toy Biz days, an Iron Man logo, and no cross sale, but as I said, no need, only War Machine. But we do get the same write-up on the back for Iron Man, which reads: Tony Stark's modular Iron Man armor gives the Armored Avenger access to an evolving range of advanced weaponry, from his repulsors and uni-beam to a devastating proton cannon. So there you go. Here he is in his glory. I haven't got my second one yet, so I'm a little bit sad I've got to open this one up. But, of course, I'm going to do it because I need to see what he looks like with this thing. Now, this is packed separately. It's got the proton cannon digital render on the front, same sort of logos and patterns, and the same stencil on the back. And as I said, I think it was a wise decision packing these separately. So let's waste no more time, and let's get them open. And here we have the retro Iron Man out of the packaging with all of his accessories on the table, including the massive plasma cannon. I would have called it the proton cannon, but the packaging says plasma cannon. We get a couple of interchangeable heads and some new effect pieces that we've never seen before with Iron Man. But the figure itself is that predicted brighter red and yellow version of the modular Iron Man armor. Now, the head sculpt that's attached to the figure right now is taken from the animated series, which is what this figure is meant to represent. So let's have a look. Now, I think they've done a great job of capturing that 90s Iron Man animated look in figure form. The show itself was part of the Marvel Action Hour, and it debuted in 1994 and lasted for 2 seasons. The Iron Man character himself did appear in the Fantastic Four cartoon and the Spider-Man cartoon, so he popped up in a few places in this brighter modular armor, which was the same armor being used by Iron Man in the comics during the 90s. So a very nostalgic armor for many, as it popped up all over the place, and this figure undoubtedly represents that animated look really well. Taking a closer look at the helmet, which is clearly the season 1 look of Iron Man, I just vividly remember that sort of crude 3D animation that they mixed into the show, but he definitely had the lines on the top of the helmet there with the yellow faceplate with the red eyes and the sort of slit where the mouth is. The only sort of difference that the show had is that the shoulder pads, I would say, had a little bit more sculpting. They had like a bit more like edges, if you sort of know what I mean. But other than that, it does accurately represent what we've seen on the show here. So yeah, the brighter colors undoubtedly do that. But this is the same modular armor that we've had in the gold and red in the background there. The only difference is the sort of uni-beam section here is a little bit more hollow. Can you see that? It's a little bit more hollow compared to this one. And that is so you can plug in some of the accessories. But taking a quick look at the armor, as you can see, it is completely pinless, has all the same elements as that other modular armor. Again, completely pinless knees as well. A little bit of yellow there, and then down to the boots as well, a little bit more yellow on the side. So yeah, red and bright yellow. A lot of people's mind's eye of Iron Man, undoubtedly. So let me zoom out just for a second, and I'll bring in the modular one so you can see for yourself. It is the same figure. They have just modded the sort of chest piece a tiny bit, so now it's more hollow. But other than that, the figure is exactly the same. They have just swapped the colors. Now you'll notice that the modular one has a different helmet, but this guy comes with that too. Now this is the same helmet as the gold modular armor, just redecoed in the brighter colors, and he has the blue eye slits. So yeah, it's nicely done. But the animated version also wore this helmet too, I think in the second season, and definitely in his appearance during the Spider-Man animated show as well. He had this style helmet. So both of the helmets represent an animated Iron Man, but as you can see here, it is the same as the gold modular one, just redecoed. But we do have another head. It's of course animated Tony Stark, as how could you not recognize that mullet? Now to be fair, I don't think he had the mullet during the early episodes, but definitely in the latter of the season he started to grow out that mullet a little bit, and we haven't got a mulleted Tony Stark just yet, so it's nice to have options. You can see it there flowing at the back. What a hairstyle. You couldn't get away with that this day and age, but there you go. It's nicely done, to be fair. It's unique sculpt as well. There's no reuse here. Jet black hair with the little mustache with the blue eyes. It's a very nice Iron Man alternative head sculpt for an unhelmeted head. So now we have options, and you know me, I like options. So let's bring in all three. So we have our sort of early animated series Iron Man with the lines up top. We have the redeco of the modular armor, which is still accurate to the later episode of the animated show. And then you have your later Tony Stark animated head. Three really nice options, which all make sense for this retro release. Let me know which one you like in the comments below. Before we move on, just wanted to try this Tony Stark head on another body to see if we could get a civilian version of Tony, as we really don't have one for our comic display. Here we have it on the J. Jonah Jameson body, and the skin tones don't match, and to be honest, his head is a little bit too big proportionately with the body, but it's still an option. And just to try one more, here we have the movie Logan body, as it has the sort of opened shirt, which is a sloppy look, which works for Tony Stark, and this head fits better proportionally on this thicker body. I still don't think it's perfect if the skin tones don't match, but it's probably our best option. And of course, the Tony Stark head will pop onto many other of your Iron Man comic bodies. Okay, back to Iron Man, because I could be here all day doing head swaps, and yes, many of the other Tony Stark head sculpts fit on this body as well. But he does come with some new accessories that nobody has, including this uni-beam here in the middle. So as I said, the only difference between this body and the modular is this chest piece is a little bit more hollow, so you can actually plug this piece in. So this is made of a translucent blue plastic, a little bit of white there in the middle, and if I move it to the side, you can see you can plug this in the chest to create the uni-beam effect, and it does stay in there pretty firmly. It sort of looks more like an impact effect than it does a uni-beam, if you know what I mean. It sort of looks like someone has blasted Tony Stark's chest rather than Tony Stark shooting out his uni-beam, but it does work very nicely. It plugs in no problem, and it is something a little bit different for the display. Again, I do not mind the Marvel team trying something a little bit different here. So there you go. There's the first effect piece. The second one is this big sort of Spiky Blast. So again, it's made of the translucent blue plastic. When it's been sprayed white, it sort of looks like more of like a snowy ice blast, to be completely honest. But it has got a hollow hole there in the sort of shape of a fist. And that, if I take that off for a second and we get his fist up, so we can just plug it in, right? Simple as that. And there you go. Now Tony Stark has got a fist effect piece. Again, a little bit awkward, not something my mind's eye thinks of when I think of Tony Stark using his repulsor blasts. However, again, it's a little bit different. It could be a sort of, again, an impact with another character or just a new effect that he's got on his arm. But there you go, that's what it is. And you can sort of use both pieces. If you get this piece back and plug it in, Tony Stark can be using all of his effect pieces. It sort of fell out. It does work really well, though, to be fair. That was a bad example. Let me plug that in properly. There you go. And there you go, multiple blast pieces. So we've seen his multiple heads and his blast pieces, but he does come with some hand options as well. So we get a set of fisted hands. We also get a set of repulsor blast hands with the actual hole in. I'm also happy to report that these repulsor blast hands have the wrist hinge in, which some of them haven't in the past. So that is a nice touch. And of course, if you have many of these effects in your fodder box, you can use them in the hands. Now, Tony himself doesn't come with them on this occasion, but I'm sure if you collect Marvel Legends, you have about 20 of them at least spare. So there you go. They work no problem. And lastly, he comes with a set of open, gripping, sort of trigger finger-ish hands. I wonder why. For his massive plasma cannon, of course. So as you can see, it comes with its own translucent flight stand to help it pose up, which will be appreciated. And it's pretty hefty in size too. So let's sort of get the tape measure out, and we can see Tony stands at about 6.5 inches tall, which as you would expect for a Marvel Legend. But let me move him out the way and let's have a look at what we got going on here. So the cannon on the stand, let's have a look. It is also about 6.5 inches in height. And then in length, we have, again, about 6.5 inches in length. So it's a pretty hefty thing, and it looks pretty imposing next to Iron Man. And the flight stand is a welcomed addition, as it will help it blend into a display. So let's see if I can get him holding it. So this is what the promo images encourage you to do, where you just sort of pose up Iron Man, sort of, it looks like he's holding it, but really it's just that his arm and shoulder are under it. He's not really holding it at all. I did try for a couple of minutes to get him to hold it without the stand, but it is extremely difficult. Now, I have no doubt people out there will be able to do it. I just don't have the patience at the moment. But as you can see, the gripping hands ain't even gripping it at this moment. You sort of want to get the hand, and there are ledges on this thing where he can sort of grip it because it's hollow underneath. So I can sort of get it gripping it there, you see. And then if the arms had a better articulation, if he had like butterfly joints, it would really help the sort of length you could get the arms. But you can see he's holding it now. And again, if I get the other arm up and under and around, I could probably get him holding it on this side as well. I'm just freestyling here at the minute, but so it's pretty sloppy. So as you can see, he's gripping it, but it's pretty tough. And it's too thick to sort of sit over the shoulder. So, okay, there you go. It sort of works that way, where his head's like right on the back there. But now both hands are, well, that hand was gripping it, damn you. Okay, now both hands are gripping. And he's sort of holding it, but it gets very sloppy very quick because it's massive. Let's take a look at the cannon. Now, the plasma cannon reminds a lot of people of the Capcom game, but it is used in the comics as well. And I think Hasbro's design here is sort of their own amalgamation, but it undoubtedly looks like the Proton cannon. It's a very nice design, lots of nice 3D printed elements here with some dark greys in there, a little bit of red punched in as well for some detail, some pink there on the front. All of these holes are hollow, so if I zoom in, you do get one effect piece, which is a bigger repulsor blast. So let me plug that in. And that is basically the repulsor blast that we've got in the past, but bigger. As you can see, they've just sort of dialed it up there. So one big repulsor blast. Not exactly the blast we see in the Capcom game, but it's still a blast all the same. But if I take that out, and if you have loads of these floating around, you can start plugging these in, and you could basically get, what, 6 of those in there? Can I get this in as well as that one? Probably. And yeah, there you go. So now you got all 3 blasts in there. So again, work your magic, do what you want with that. But let me take all of them back out. Front on, you've got a little bit of red punched in on all these sides. Maybe they're lasers or something. And then on this side, again, a bit more grey and a bit of red as well. Underneath, you can see it's hollow. And that's how I was getting his hands to sort of tuck under there and grip it. And then there we have the hole for the actual stand, but the stand could probably plug in other parts as well. Like, there you go, it's plugged in there. So you don't have to put the stand in there. You can use these ridges to plug the stand in as well, as you can see. So nice translucent stand. You probably can't see it on my white background, but I promise you it's there. But yeah, overall, this is a very nice cannon. And even though some of the other Iron Man figures don't come with gripping hands, of course, using the flight stand, you can still get this cannon to work with any of your Iron Man characters in the display. Oh no! Even Hank's having a go. This won't end well. So let's move into some comparisons. And first up, let's look at both of these Iron Man retro carded figures together. Here we have Iron Man and War Machine. Both of these figures represent their 90s animated appearance. They all popped up in different shows as well. And it is great to have these two represented in plastic in the 6-inch Legends form. And I really like this display option as well. Both the unhelmeted head sculpts for Tony and James. And again, they look great. And of course, one more time, here we have the retro Iron Man compared to the modular armor in gold. So these two figures are exactly the same. That is why I didn't go through articulation in this video. I just pointed out all the differences, as this has the same body mold. They are both completely pinless all the way around. Both will have the same articulation. The only difference are, of course, the head sculpts and the chest pieces are subtly different to now interlock the new effect pieces. But yes, these are the same figure. If you don't have this modular Iron Man armor, you are sleeping, as this is a great figure. So of course, this was already going to be great too. It's just, what color do you prefer? But we're building comic book Hall of Armor at this point. So get them both. Here we have our retro Iron Man compared to a couple of other comic book armors for your ever-growing Hall of Armor. We've got the 80th anniversary in the gold, that same body mold reused twice over for the stealth suit in blue, and the AI Iron Man that came with the translucent Tony Stark head. Now obviously this is the retro Iron Man, so let's compare retro to some new Iron Man armors in comic books, as we've got the Invincible Iron Man here and then the Mark 70 here, which again, two great modern versions of Iron Man, all look a little bit different. This Hall of Armor is looking great. Now this may seem like a random comparison with Hawkeye and Grey Gargoyle, but of course it's not if you are familiar with that 90s animated show, as both Hawkeye and Grey Gargoyle appear with this retro Iron Man. Now, can you use this Iron Man in a comic display? Yes, of course you can. What a stupid question. Here he is compared to two A-list comic characters with Captain America and the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man, and he looks great. But if I swap out the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man for the animated Spider-Man, then all three of these appeared in an episode of the animated Spider-Man. So even this would work. Here we have Iron Man compared to Frogman, Tigra, and White Rabbit. And last but never least, here we have Captain Britain and Hal Fire Hank. So, final thoughts on this Marvel Legends retro carded Iron Man. What can I say? This one hits that nostalgic sweet spot, as I love that Iron Man retro card. It is such a shame we're only going to get two of them, but at least we got Iron Man and War Machine to accompany each other on a display. And the figure itself we knew we would like, as it is on the pinless modular Iron Man body in the brighter colours which we wanted. And it also accurately represents that animated appearance. We get enough new pieces here and some new accessories to really make it a fun piece where you can mix and match with your other Iron Mans in your collection to ultimately build a better Hall of Armor. And for the first time in the Legends line, we're getting that massive proton cannon, that plasma cannon, which has been seen in many forms of media, but we've never had it in the 6-inch scale. So very happy for that inclusion. And ultimately, this is a great set that it's hard to nitpick with. Apart from the price, again, not something I usually speak about on the channel, but this one just didn't make sense. It's a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, but in the US, it was $45, $44.99. In the UK, it is £58. That's $57.99. It doesn't make sense. At this moment in time, the pound and the dollar, let's be honest, they're pretty equal. And it doesn't make sense why the UK are paying a hefty price more for this same figure, which is hurting because a lot of people, like me, want to buy two of these. One to keep on card for display and one to open up to pose. So yeah, the hefty price definitely hurts. So you let me know what you're going to do in the comments below. Are you going to get one? Are you going to get two? Do you even like this figure? Did you like that animated show in the 90s? Always curious to hear your thoughts. I'm a sucker for this stuff. I love the retro card and I love Iron Man, so ultimately I'm in. But again, enough new pieces here to make this a fun piece. So if you like Marvel Legends, stick around, check out the videos tab, find the playlists, but most importantly, please, 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 hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, don't miss out on a video, and please hit that join button. Become a channel member, either show some love or join the members club. Much, much appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who, and I'm on Twitter as well. Tweet me, don't be shy, at Dan Who Reviews. And until then, people, my name is Dan W, and I will, of course, see you on the next one.